The Jaguars fought today to save their season, and it was the stars that helped them do it. I'll tell you all about it on the postcast edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. We appreciate you joining us on our YouTube page that is Locked On Jaguars, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you check it out every single day so you do not miss an episode. Let's just get right to it. We got a postcast, two halves of it. We're going to go by the numbers in the second half and give you some statistics, but we're going to start this postcast off in this podcast, the postcast edition of the podcast, by just celebrating the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars won a game, 37-34, a home victory over the Indianapolis Colts. I think I said that right, Indianapolis. But listen, the story isn't about how I pronounce words. The story is about the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars entertained their fans, and the fans left happy because it wasn't just another close game, which it was, but it was one where they were victorious. It was also a game where a lot of things that the Jaguars have been hoping to see from individual players happened. Now, there were some things that didn't go the way the Jaguars wanted them to. They gave up 34 points. They gave up a lead. They extended the lead. They gave it up again, and then the game was eventually tied. But we ain't going to fret about all of that stuff right now. We're just going to worry about the fact that they got off the schneid. They saved their season with an effort from a lot of guys that did a lot of things that they're being paid and counted on to do by this team. Let's start at the top with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was absolutely brilliant for 95% of this game. I don't have a problem with him checking down maybe a little bit too fast. That's all right. That's what you want him to do. You don't want him to play hero like he tried to do when he threw in the bracketed triple coverage and the ball got intercepted when he was trying to go deep to Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Thomas Jr., speaking of him, you think that draft pick was any good? As much as we've gotten on Trent Baalke and everybody else for some of these things that they've done, a lot of the people that he chose today stepped up and showed off and did what they were supposed to do. But let this be a lesson to you. Even if you get individual performances from your stars, it was still a very close game against a wounded team. You need everyone else. Everybody has to play their part. The entire operation, from play calling, from the depth pieces, to being able to stop the run, to being able to get off the field during situational football. All of these things have to happen for this team to get to where they want to go. So what I suggest before we start uncorking all of the things that happened today is that we do what the team is apparently going to do. We're going to take this thing not only one game at a time, but we're going to take it one quarter at a time, one possession at a time, one play at a time. They didn't buckle. They did not mentally shrink and fold, and they could have done that. That tells me, with the way that they played, the spirited way that they played all game, that reports that this guy had lost, that Doug Peterson had lost his locker room and players were ready to quit and revolt, was a lie. And it was, or at the very least, it was a miscalculation on the part of some people. Frustration looks a lot like quitting when you have a lot of passion. Those things can be identical twins. Those players did not quit. They didn't quit. I think what they did was today in a game where they won 37-34 against the Colts, they got out of their own way. They got in their way again, but then they were able to get out of their way after that. Some very good passes and throws by Joe Flacco. No excuse. You still have to do things. They're still making mistakes that they made in week one against the Giants. In the coverage they were in, I believe the announcer said that they were in cover 3. Everybody can't bite on the underneath guy and then leave your single high safety sitting back there wondering where his help is. And that's exactly what happened. It was similar to the Jalen Waddle play. They hit the Colts hit a play to Alec Pierce late in the game. It looked just like the Jalen Waddle play in Miami. You can't keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And Ryan Nielsen looked like he was over it, man. He was like, I'm fighting for my life over here, dog, and y'all keep making these same mistakes. But listen, all of that doesn't matter today. They won. It was wildly entertaining. They wore the throwback uniforms. They looked good, by the way, too. And they put Tom Coughlin, a man who deserved to be in that Ring of Honor. They put Tom Coughlin in the Ring of Honor in the stadium. So the fans were off the chain, a lot of enthusiasm in the game. The Jaguars get their first win. They are now tied with Tennessee for a while at least, still at the bottom of the AFC South. But what they have done is they've set themselves up to now go on a 2-week mission over to London in their next 2 games and try to get them some victories. They have a little bit of momentum now. The Jaguars could very well in this season be 4-1. The only game that they were really outclassed and outdone was the game against Buffalo. They look like a little bit of a different team today, and for the second consecutive game, their offensive line looked competent, and they looked like they were supposed to look. So spirited game. I'll talk about some of the pluses, the stars that shined. All of their names begin with a T. It's or end either their first or last name. Trevor Lawrence, Tank Bigsby was huge. We'll hit the stats in segment 2. Travon Walker, game of his life. And I wonder if you're going to get some narratives being pushed about him being the number 1 pick and finally looking like the part to everybody else. And this isn't like he was getting assistance from anybody else. He was causing most of the time. He caused a sack that Josh Hines-Allen got. So a very good game by him. Brian Thomas Jr. and, of course, Cam Little at the very end with a straight down the middle kick to seal the victory. A lot of things to clean up, but today you don't have to worry about doing that. All you got to do is worry about it, enjoying this victory, Jaguar fans, along with the team. And I'm going to get into the numbers and tell you some of the statistical things, and then we'll leave you today with just some things to look for and some things to monitor as this team moves forward. We'll do all of that in just a second. The second half of the postcast here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's postcast is sponsored and brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Man, when you're building a company, it takes a whole bunch of things to get right. Your small business depends on those things being done. When you're dealing with contractors and you're dealing with all of these other things, you can forget that you actually need to hire people. Well, that's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in, because LinkedIn Jobs isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other job sites. So if you're looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the right place. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professionals. Go to LinkedIn. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's show is also brought to you and sponsored by BetterHelp. There are a lot of things in life that lead you to getting to the point where you just don't know what to do next. BetterHelp can help you. Therapy is something that can help you overcome loss of life, loss of a job, not having enough time in order to spend with your loved ones because you might be working too hard, right? And the guilt that comes along with that can bog you down, man. Sometimes you just need somebody else to help you figure it out. And BetterHelp has done that for me, and it can do the same thing for you. If you're thinking about considering therapy, please consider giving BetterHelp a try. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Here's what you do. Just remember that therapy is a good tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, third and final segment here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. All right, I'm going to go by the numbers, man. I know y'all are enjoying yourselves and you just want to enjoy this beautiful victory, 37-34 maddeningly entertaining game. Even if the Jaguars would have lost, y'all would have had to admit that it was a very entertaining game. However, it's more entertaining when your team wins. Let's start with the numbers. Trevor Lawrence, probably his best day as a pro, even though this game, it's a very significant game. It's not a playoff game. I think it's the best game we've seen him play because he had a couple of drops. Gabe Davis dropped a couple of passes. So these numbers could have been better. 28 for 34, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 1 interception, a bad throw that he wishes he could have back. But let me tell you something. He settled in. He took everything that was given to him, as Doug Peterson said at halftime, took all the underneath stuff, and then the big plays came. And you didn't have to manufacture them. You didn't have to search for them other than that one pass to Brian Thomas Jr. He hit Brian Thomas Jr. on an 85-yard touchdown early in the game off of a very good play call. By the way, we'll get to play calling in a minute because like Tom McManus, I saw Tom McManus put this on social media. Ain't nobody complaining about play calling today because they're executing. Guys are doing their part, right? Travis Etienne caught a lot of passes early. He had 6 catches for 43 yards, but didn't really get loose in the running game. That was all Tank Bigsby's job today, and Tank Bigsby actually had a reception for 28 yards. But listen to this, 13 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's not time to be worried about a running back controversy. It's more or less they went with the hot guy, and Tank was the hot guy, and his running style benefited the team today. Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, the rookie sensation, 5 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. In my opinion, he's their go-to guy. That is where you need to go to if you're looking to get a play made, if you need something to happen, if you need a spark. The pacifier is out of his mouth. He's not drinking Similac anymore. He's no longer a baby. He is a grown man, and he is letting everyone in the NFL know just that. Christian Kirk got going, had 88 yards on 4 receptions, a big one down the stretch. And that is the way this thing is designed to be. Even Brenton Strange had 4 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown. Luke Farrell had 2 catches for 17 yards, but it's the fact that they were big plays at the right time that got first downs for this team. All the guys whose names start or end, the first or last name start or end with T, did work. And that includes Travon Walker. 3 sacks on defense. And he probably could have had 3 more if he'd have just held on, or guys wouldn't have slid, or maybe if some of those chips that were working, if he could have just got there a little bit quicker. But they were doing everything. Even the announcer said this. They are trying to block Travon. They are doing everything they can to stop him. They're chipping. They're helping. They're leaving Josh one-on-one over there on the other side. And Josh even did get a sack. But another thing, Ventrell Miller. When Foye Oluwakan comes back, Ventrell Miller needs to start next to Foye Oluwakan. This is a different team with somebody like that can run like the wind, and then he triggers. He fills, he spills, he does all of the things that he's supposed to do. And he's also pretty decent in coverage also. Ventrell Miller has been something to behold. They need Tyson Campbell to hurry up and get back. They do, because the weakness of this team right now, I believe, is the secondary. And my friend Matt Williamson from the Peacock and Williamson podcast even said it so much the other day on Locked On NFL on Friday with me, that the Jaguars, the roster build isn't bad, but they need some more defense. I do think they have some other guys that they're paying a lot of money that is probably not worth it. Today is not the day for us to discuss that. Okay, they got a win, and now they have a little bit of momentum that might allow them to continue to play that way. It's important that, just like it's important for y'all to leave the stadium and feel good and to go have a good night's sleep tonight and enjoy your Sunday dinner, and then go to the water cooler tomorrow and your football self-esteem when you're listening to sports radio or the Locked On Jaguars podcast on the way to work tomorrow, it's going to feel good that your head is up. That coffee's going to taste a little bit better. But for those players that have worked hard, and for those coaches that have tried their best to get this thing, even amidst the criticism from somebody like me, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them, and I'm happy for the families of them, because you at least want to know that all of these things that you are trying to work on at some point can come together and you can win a football game. Now it's time to figure out how to win a second football game. All is not lost just because the team is 0-4. It's not. And I know I'm sounding like Professor Positive here, but that's the time for this today. You have to acknowledge some things. Now, there are a few warts. There's some things that went wrong that they still need to get worked out, because if they play a better opponent, there's going to be some stuff that's going to happen, right? But the Jaguars have lost games already to teams that they were better than, in my opinion. They were better than Cleveland, and they couldn't beat them. You know, they just have to keep moving, keep the momentum, learn from the positives, push the negatives aside. But for today, and maybe until Tuesday or something like that, enjoy it. Rejoice. Rejoice, Jaguar fans. They showed some life. They showed some of the things that we had seen in training camp that made us believe that this is how they were going to play. And whenever you can win a game in the NFL by any means necessary, I don't care if you win it 10-7, I don't care if you win it 77-70, you won. And that is the key. And hopefully the Jaguars can learn. Big things, though, from all of those guys, the stars. It lined up. Trevor Lawrence, Josh Hines Allen got involved, Brian Thomas Jr., Travon Walker. Not so much Travis Etienne like it was in the first half, but Tank Bigsby picked up the slack when they didn't really play Etienne much in the second half. I don't know if he got banged up or if they just went with the hot hand. But whatever it was, it worked. And the offensive line, the much maligned offensive line, I got to salute you today. You played a very, very good game today. And that's it. I want y'all to enjoy it, rejoice in it. It doesn't happen very often, or hasn't happened very often this year, but the Jaguars are victorious and win this game by a margin of 37-30. We'll have more of the statistical breakdown. The time of possession, the total yards is almost even. The Jaguars had 50 yards more than the Colts. Joe Flacco had a very good game. The Colts actually had more first downs. Time of possession, the Jaguars shrunk that up a little bit. You know, they still didn't win it, but they were within 3 minutes. It's 31 and some change to 28 and some change. So they did a lot better there. Third down efficiency, they were still only 3 out of 10. The difference today was the big plays, the sacks, and Trevor being more efficient. Join me tomorrow for Locked On Jaguars, where I'll give you more comprehensive Jaguar coverage, and we'll have everything you need all week, as we always do. We'll continue to celebrate this victory. We'll analyze it and break it down, and then make your second listen Locked On NFL. There's a double dose of it now. The morning with the madman Tyler Rowland, and then in the afternoon in the barbershop with me, along with local guests from around the Locked On Podcast Network that know your team like no one else. So make sure you check that out on our YouTube page that is Locked On NFL, or wherever you get your podcast. 37-34, the Jaguars are very, very victorious today. Enjoy it. It is a victory Sunday. We're going to turn it into a victory Monday on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Jaguars. Y'all take care. We'll see you in the morning.